This is a strange story that I experienced. Spring. I started the 6th grade and because I looked like a serious kid, I was forced to become the class chairman. If that was all, then fine, but the worst part was that it meant I had to write the class journal as well. Our teacher, who had transferred from another school, said, "We used to do it there as well." But wouldn't it be fine to just tell them directly? But I kept those feelings inside, and as I searched the dusty shelves in the back of the room after school for a notebook, I finally found one. The journal was hidden deep in the shelves, like the other books had chased it away and cornered it there. It was a shabby ringed notebook, but there was no sign of any other notebooks and, honestly, I just wanted to get this over with as soon as possible. So I decided to use this one as the journal. I was astounded that our teacher told me to write a journal and yet didn't even supply a notebook. When I heard we were getting a new teacher, I expected someone a little older and more experienced. But instead, we got someone who was so young that he could have been a teacher in training instead. I was annoyed that I couldn't voice my complaints, so I slammed the notebook down on the desk and then flung it open. On the open page, it said, April 8th, Thursday. Tanaka-kun bought a new game, so he was very excited today. I thought the notebook was empty, but it seemed somebody had already beat me to it. In an interesting coincidence, there was also a Tanaka-kun in the same group as me today. And looking at the date, it perfectly matched the day and date for tomorrow. Did the journal tell the future, perhaps? I laughed at the stupid idea, quickly wrote something basic down, and then rushed home. If I had done something with that journal then I wouldn't be burdened with such guilt now. At first I just treated it as a joke, but it seemed that the journal really did tell the future one day in advance. When I say the future, I don't mean something happening out in the world at large. But when school finished and I went to write about what happened that day, there would already be a line or two there. Not about what happened, but about what would happen. It didn't just mention small things that were about to happen, like Tanaka-kun losing his game, but also included notices, like the fact that Tsuji-san was going to win the art contest. There wasn't exactly a lot I could do with such trifling information, so for a while, I just enjoyed what I saw written in the journal. When I checked the notebook at the end of the first semester, it said, August 26th, Thursday. Today, a transfer student by the name of Ichihara-san came to our school. Matters took a suspicious turn at the start of the second semester. Up until that point, the journal had only listed small, trifling matters, such as who got praised in class, or who lost something, etc. But then, it took a dark turn, talking about who was injured and who was being bullied. And even now, I still clearly remember what I read on November 17th. The journal said, November 20th, Monday. Yesterday, Hoshino-san died. The atmosphere in the class is terrible. While I wasn't exactly good friends with Hoshino-san, he was going to die. It wasn't like I could just ignore that. Thankfully, there was still some time until he was supposed to die. I didn't know how he would die, but at the very least, I could warn him. And with that in mind, I searched the school grounds for him, but he had already gone home. I was at a loss for what to do when I saw my classmate, Itakura-kun. I asked if he knew where Hoshino-san was, and apparently he'd gone out camping with his family to see the partial lunar eclipse. The moment I heard he was out of reach, that sense of justice within me went out like a light. Of course, I had never tested whether the journal got things 100% right. Maybe it got things wrong sometimes. Things suddenly felt silly, and so I went straight home. As the weekend ended, I went to school happier than ever. The weekend had been so much fun. On Saturday, we played Tanaka-kun's game that had finally come back, and on Sunday, I watched a movie with my family. And then, on the way home, my parents, who were in an oddly good mood, bought me a Switch. And so, I had forgotten all about Hoshino-san. As I sat down for homeroom that morning, the teacher announced the news that Hoshino-san had died. I don't remember anything that happened the day after that. The only thing I could recall was that the teacher was smiling when he looked my way. I left home early the next day. The reason, of course, was to tear that journal to shreds. Hoshino-san died because of that journal. I didn't do anything wrong. It was that journal's fault. The bad guys had to pay. That was why I, the victim, had to tear it up, and then it would all be over. And when it was over, I would be free of guilt. That was what I thought. The journal wasn't there. As I stood there dumbfounded, the teacher suddenly appeared behind me. "If you're looking for that journal, I already took care of it," he said. Shocked, I turned around, and the teacher was smiling at me, just like the day before. Then he left the classroom. And that was my strange experience. Eh? Did he really get rid of the journal? Who knows? All I know is that he was transferred again at the start of the 3rd semester. So, it doesn't have anything to do with me anymore.